Good evening, everybody. I'm going to be talking about Moses tonight, for a little bit anyway. I felt impressed to do this 2 or 3 days ago. Then I thought, I don't feel like I have enough information, but now I'm going to share. Exodus chapter 3, starting with Verse 7, the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people who are in Egypt, and heard their cry because of their taskmasters and oppressors. I know their sorrows and sufferings and trials. And I, God, have come down to deliver them out of the hand and the power of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of that land to a land good and large and flowing with milk and honey. And what God was doing was telling Moses, this is your job. You're going to have to go to Egypt, and you're going to have to tell Pharaoh to let my people go, the Israelites, who had suffered at the hands of the Egyptians for many, 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 many years. And over in Exodus 4:13, what Moses said was, Oh, my Lord, I pray you send by the hand someone else. Can you not send someone else, God? And believe me, I've said that. When God called me into the recovery ministry, I'm like, no. I don't know who you're talking to, but you need to go talk to them. I can't hear you. And of course, I could hear him, but I just didn't think I could do that. And I'm sure Moses didn't feel very qualified, number one, because he had a speech impediment. Well, guess what? I have a speech impediment. But that hasn't stopped me. I am going to do what God has called me to do. Now we go over to chapter 5, starting with verse 1. Moses and Aaron went in and told Pharaoh. They said, The Lord thy God, Israel, is saying, Let my people go, they that may hold a feast to me in the wilderness. And you know what Pharaoh said? Who is this God that I should obey his voice and let Israel go? I know not this God, neither will I let Israel go. I will not set these people free. And he was so angry that Pharaoh went to the taskmasters who watched over the people as they made their bricks. And he said to the taskmasters, you no longer, this is verse 7, you shall no longer give the people the straw to make the bricks. Let them go gather their own straw for themselves. And they shall still have to do the same amount of bricks in the same amount of time, but they shall also have to get the straw. And the people were so upset. And in verse 21, starting with verse 15, then the Hebrew foreman came and said, why did you deal with us like this? You are now not given a straw, and behold, your servants are being beaten, and the fault is in your own people. But Pharaoh said, you are lazy, you are idle, and you are going to do this. Now go out now and get to work, for no straw will be given to you, yet you shall deliver the full quota of bricks. So you come on down, and verse 20, and the foreman met Moses and Aaron, who were standing in the way, and the foreman said to them, the Lord look upon you and judge you, because you have made a rotten stench to us, and now we're going to have to work harder. What were you thinking? What were you thinking? And Moses turned to God and said, oh God, why have you dealt evil to this people? Why did you ever send me here? Why? And don't you sometimes feel like when God has called you to do something, you think, why? Or gone to somebody and said, this is what God wants you to do, and they just stare at you like you have lost your mind? Well, Jesus was persecuted. Moses is being persecuted right now. So this started the 10 plagues, where Moses would go and say, let my people go. And Pharaoh would say, nope, not going to do it. So the first thing he did was turn water into blood. All the water, all the rivers around were turned into blood. It was stinky, and Pharaoh finally said, enough, I will let your people go. Did he let them go? No, he did not. Then we dealt with the frogs, the lice, the flies, the livestock, the boils, the hail, the locusts, and the darkness. And each time Pharaoh would say, I give up, stop. And then he'd say, kidding, I don't mean it, I'm not letting your people go. So after 9 horrible plagues, Moses finally said, okay, God is going to kill the firstborn of all your livestock, of all your families, all your people. Firstborn is going to die. And I don't know if Pharaoh just didn't believe it, or if he's just a complete idiot. But he said, nope, not letting them go. So Moses went to the Israelites, told them to make a sacrifice, to put blood on over the door and along the post of the door. That way the angel of death would pass them by. And in the night, the angel of death came and killed the firstborn of all of Pharaoh's people and their livestock. Didn't hurt the Israelites' livestock, didn't hurt their children. Nobody died in the Israelites. It was all in Pharaoh's. And Pharaoh finally gave up and said, get out. I've had enough. Take your livestock, take your grain, take whatever you brought in with you. It belongs to you. Take it and get out. And he finally really meant it. But Moses went through all of this. He had to keep after Pharaoh. And some of us would have quit like probably the first time, or after everybody got mad at us and said, you know, why have you done this to us? We would probably walked off and said, no, it's not worth it. But Moses did not give up. And God is not wanting you to give up. Sometimes God puts it in our heart to do something. And the example I use is, this was probably 15 years ago. I had gone to St. Louis to visit my brother, and he and I had tickets to go watch the St. Louis Cardinals. We were on like the 22nd row, right behind home plate. And I can always tell when God is getting ready to use me for something. And I thought, God, I'm at a baseball game. And he was like, I need you to talk to somebody. So I start looking around. Off to my left was a handicap area. So I was kind of looking over there, and I kept thinking, who do you want me to talk to, God? And finally he told me to look to my left and look up. And I did that. And it was a security guard standing there like this. You know, and I thought, you want me to go talk to a security guard? He said, yeah. So I got up, and I thought, I have to go to the bathroom. I'll go to the bathroom, and I'll come out and talk to him. And I heard God very plainly, don't you dare go sit down until you talk to this man. And I came out, and there was another security guard standing there with him. And God said, see, if you just do what I tell you to do when I tell you to do it, you wouldn't have to deal with this. So I walked up to the security guard, and I looked at him, and of course the other one was looking at me. I said, I know you're going to think this is crazy. I said, but I felt like God was speaking to me about coming to talk to you, and I feel like I have to tell you something. And they both looked at each other, rolled their eyes, and they looked at each other like, she's seeing a whole team of psychiatrists. I told the man, I don't even remember what it was now, but it had something to do with his family life, maybe his wife, I don't know. And I said, that's all I had to say. And I walked off and said, God, that man thinks I'm crazy. And God said, what do you care what he thinks? You will never see him again. And he said, and you don't know if that seed will not change his life for the good. You just have to believe that he will and pray for him. And I walked off, went back down to my brother, start watching the ball game. But you know, we never know when God is going to call us to do something. And sometimes it seems hard. Sometimes we may feel on the inside of us that we need to text somebody and say, God just wanted me to tell you he loved you. And yeah, you're going to have people look at you like you have lost your mind. But you know what? Jesus had that. He was persecuted. They tried to throw him off a cliff. The scribes and Pharisees, they hated his guts, and they were doing everything they could to stop him. But you know, we have a call on our life to go into all the world to preach the gospel to every creature. And sometimes it's just going up, patting somebody on the back and saying, I hope you have a good day. Or just smile at people. Have you ever just seen somebody that always has a frown on their face and they just need somebody to smile at them and say, hey, how you doing? And if they say I'm awful, then you go over and you say, is there something I can pray with you about? The time is short, and God is showing us that we have to go into all the world to transform people's lives. I am so thankful that I have had people in my life that have helped me, that have guided me into areas where I didn't know what I was doing. But God has called us to transform people's life from glory to glory. And that means you, and that means me. So think about the last time God told you to do something. It's hard, but I'm going to tell you, you will be so blessed, especially when you see a smile come on their face and you know that they have received what God has said. So go into all the world. Moses did it, and he went through heck to get there, but he finally was able to lead those hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people out of the bondage of Pharaoh, and they headed toward the promised land. So I'm not going to finish that story. You can read it for yourself in Exodus. I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.